Welcome, everyone, to International Women's Day. I am so excited to be here today with four fantastic ladies. And I want to say, first and foremost, big shout out to all the impressive women in my life who have helped me. And I think every day should be International Women's Day. I don't know what you ladies think, but I recently had a conversation with somebody and I said, why are we just delegating this to one day? This should be every day. So we're here today because we're going to continue our conversation about ambition. And this is a topic I have been thinking about for 30 years. A good friend of mine reminded me recently that she understands where my passion lies, and my passion is all about helping women get to where they want to be, wherever that happens to be. And she recalls an event I held 30 years ago when we weren't having International Women's Day, but it was in my living room, and I invited every woman I know to come and talk about this idea of ambition. And so I wanted to reboot the conversation. So thank you so much to everybody who's here today. I'm going to let you introduce yourselves. For those people who don't know me, my name's Marie Weiss. I'm the host of Women Talk Tech. I'm the president of Marketing Copilot. And quite frankly, I'm just a female cheerleader on so many different levels. So if you remember anything today about me, please remember that. I'm going to ask Marie Christine to introduce yourself next.
Absolutely, and thank you for the invitation. And ladies on the panel, I salute you. It's an honor being on this panel with all of you. So most people know me as MC. It's Marie Christine. I'm head of Canada for C Prime, and I've been in the world of accelerating organizations and people with passion and technology. So I'm really happy to join you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you're joining us from Montreal today. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm in Montreal. I'm in my hometown. I'm often in
Awesome.
Toronto, though.
Okay. All right. Melissa, you go next.
Yeah, hi. I'm thrilled to be on this panel with everyone. Thanks so much for the invitation. It's awesome to be here. And I'm Melissa Penton, and I actually just started a new role at OMERS. I am the Cloud Transformation Change Manager. Thank you. I'm super excited about the opportunity. And creativity is my superpower. So I'm excited to unleash in my new role.
Oh, that's great. Michelle, you go next. You with the beautiful balloons.
Oh, well, thank you. Happy International Women's Day. It's a celebration. I'm Michelle Joliet. I'm the Senior Vice President of Product and Delivery at Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, and I'm really excited to be here today.
And Christina, last but not least.
Welcome and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I am Christina Cleary, and I'm the founder and chief leadership coach of Excel. And our mission is to increase the number of people at the top who identify as women by accelerating their journeys, whether it be personal or professional, through coaching, content, and community, which is really just a fancy way of saying I support women through coaching and learning and development opportunities.
Wonderful. Okay, we're going to stick with you for a minute, Christina, and we're going to open up with our first question today. Great. So, what does ambition mean to you? Is that an odd word? Is it a word you embrace in your life? What does ambition mean to you?
I absolutely love the word ambition. And yes, I embrace it in every element of my life. And for people who know me, I think it would be one of the top 5 words that they would use to describe me. And they also wouldn't be surprised to know that my number one character strength is competitive. So you take competitive and you take ambition and you basically, have me. So what does ambition mean to me? To me, ambition is simply I like to think about it as like fire in the belly. It's like that internal energy force that drives you to reach a goal, to move forward, and to accomplish things that you want to accomplish. So I think fire in the belly is kind of the easiest way that I would describe ambition when I'm thinking about women who are ambitious, people who are ambitious in general. I think it's that fire in the belly. It's like that energy source and that driver that really propels you.
I love it. That's a great example. Very, very descriptive. Melissa, what about you?
Yeah, I would say the same, fire in the belly. And I think with women, I think it's something that we are just born with, or those who identify as women, just something that we're born with. And it never it never goes away, and I think it gets stronger. There's a beautiful poem by Rupi Kaur, and she says, remember the woman that you were before the world told you to be somebody else. And I think that's true. That's what ambition means to me. I think we go through seasons where we might be more ambitious than other times, but it's always there.
I love it. I love it. Michelle, what about you? What does ambition mean to you?
Yeah, it's actually, when we were talking about this call, it's never anything that I've thought about as ambition. It's really funny. It's not a word that's been in my vocabulary. It's goals, drive, future looking, but I've never thought of ambition in and of itself as being ambitious. And so I think it's, where are you going? How are you going to get there? And the determination to keep going or to try a different path when things aren't necessarily as clear cut as you want them to be. So it's that never give up and keep looking and striving for what you want is sort of how I would define it.
Love that. Love that. Marie-Christine, how about you?
Well, I've loved everything that I've heard so far. The word ambition for me, the way it resonates, is how do we aim high? And it's like my 4Ds. I lived through everything in my life with my 4Ds, and it's about how to dream, desire, decide, do. I've always wanted to look at life by saying to myself, okay, what are you dreaming of? What do you really desire? What does your inner self want in your heart? And decide to do it and do it. So that's my 4Ds, and it sticks with ambition because we're aiming high. And you know what? In life, we don't always know what to aim for. Sometimes we're on a path or a journey and we need to do resets. And I do them often. I like to recreate goals, and I am competitive too, by the way. And I grew up doing sports, and I think that molded me also to be able to have a perspective or a way of seeing things that, I love challenges, and I like still dreaming, and I hope that our audience still does, and you guys too.
So we're going to come back to this idea of hitting the reset button at times, and I want to bring that back in a second. I know personally I've had to reinvent myself many times. I'm doing it right now as we speak,
Yeah.
and I think there was always a time in the past where I was always a little bit afraid of that, and took me off what I thought was my ambition track. Um, let's talk for a second, though, because I think this is a question that our audience probably has. This came up from the team at Marketing Copilot as we were trying to think about the questions for today and how we wanted to engage on this topic. People are curious. Particularly, you've all achieved great things in your life. That was probably driven by some ambition. It was driven by that dreaming big, where you wanted to go, that fire in your belly. But what messages did you get about success and achievement growing up? When you were growing up, what were the messages that stuck with you about success and ambition and those types of things? Michelle, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, it's I got off a call with my mother right before this because I wanted to clarify the exact moment in time. When I was 4 years old, there was a new Governor General that was introduced to Canada, and the Supreme Court of Canada all walked into this forum to, I guess it was the swearing in. And at 4 years old, unprompted, I was very upset that there were no women in that forum. And so I asked my mother, like, where did that come from? What were the circumstances surrounding this? And she said, well, you did it all on your own. This is something innate to you that you just were not okay with this. And then we had a conversation about it. And, the message around you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you want to be. And that, that went through my entire life. There was never a moment where I wasn't encouraged by my family to do things. I mean, I was told by a grade 10 science teacher when I won the Petro-Canada Science Scholarship Award in grade 10 that I had no potential and that she was very upset that somebody else didn't get it. But in my family, there were no barriers.
I love that. I love that. Christina, how about you? Did you have messages about success and achievement growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one common theme, even from the first question that Melissa hinted to, is this question of whether or not ambition is nurture or nature. That question of, is it something that you're born with, or is it something that you can learn, and is it a muscle that you can flex? And I think that the answer is both. So during my upbringing, like Michelle, I think was very lucky to have parents who set the expectation and who encouraged me to know that there are no limits on what you can accomplish. The old adage of, you can be anything you want to be, you can do anything you want to do, which also can be intimidating as well. But I think that when you grow up in that, with that message and with that culture, it's a lens that allows you to be a dreamer, and follow Marie Christine's 4Ds, is like, what do I desire? And it really encourages you to be creative and to think, there is no limit to what I can be. There is no limit to what I can do. So I do think that there's this element of the messages we receive while we're growing up, the encouragement that we receive to test things, to try, to fail, to succeed, to celebrate, and to learn. And so I'm very thankful that I was brought up in a family that really taught me that there were no limits to what I could do. But I do think that inherently in me, like Marie Christine, there is the competitor, and there is that fire in my belly that I think just naturally burns and can sometimes get out of control.
All right. Okay. And I love that. I love that you're honest about that. That's great. No holds barred though. Melissa, how about you?
Yeah, mine was maybe a bit different. I didn't not receive the message to go after whatever I wanted. I think mine truly was my internal ambition. I went after things and did things, and I was the first to play sports in my family and I played on a boys soccer team for 2 years in elementary school. And no one had done that before me. No one in my family plays soccer. So I did things that were not kind of set out before me already. And I feel like my ambition, and I'm incredibly grateful for all those that came before me and have trailblazed this amazing path that we have today. And even now, when I say to people, we have, I think it's 23% of the workforce and women is in tech or sciences are women. And there are people, anyone that I talk to, my husband included, will say, wow, there was like one female in my comp sci program in university. So we still obviously have a very long way to go in the tech sector. But that this later in life to just go after whatever you want to go after. And there's a community of women out there who are in the same boat, and we are redefining, I think, what ambition was to me anyways, growing up in the 80s and 90s, was you just went with the flow, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in there on a point, and I think that this is really interesting what you're saying. And so for everybody listening today, I want, if you take away anything, and you're going to take away a lot from this conversation, I don't think there's an age limit anymore on
No.
where our ambition goes and how our ambition works in this world. I used to think there was. I used to get very demotivated by these lists, the top 30 under the fast 30 under 30 and the top 40 under 40. And it really demotivated me at thinking that you couldn't, if you didn't have it done by the time you were 40, you weren't successful. And now I'm seeing just such amazing women in the world who have, found they've written their first book at the age of 65 and then go on to be a successful best-selling author by the time they're 70. And I'm thinking, first of all, there's no age restrictions on ambition. And I think that's a really important message for people to hear. And what your ambition, you talked about your seasons of ambition, Melissa, which I think is fantastic. uh, what you might have thought at one point in your life is open to change, and reinventing yourself. And that's on all fronts: career, professional, personal, a whole bunch of things. Marie Christine, what were some of the messages you received growing up about success and achievement?
I think life has been like a springboard for me of different opportunities. Um, And I understand totally today why I'm in the agile and tech world and world of transformations, because if I look at my mom, who was a very big influence in my life, and she still is, um, she tried to show me to live life with no regrets. So let me give you a few examples. When it came to sports, very much like Melissa, I was on a football team with guys in high school. When I used to play sports and I was very competitive and I did international competitions, my mom always used to say, if you want to get better, go play with the guys. If you want to be better at tennis, don't play with somebody that's at your stage. Play with somebody that's going to beat you and that's going to show you. If you want to play golf, go play golf with men and see how they think, how they talk, and how they move with the game. So I got different role models very young because of that way of my mom thinking. And I remember, on a personal note, I was supposed to be going to Greece with my boyfriend at the time. And something happened, and my mom showed me again to live without regrets. She said, "NC, you can go. If it's not for you, you come back. In life, you can make decisions and change. So you can say yes, you can say no, but you can also say, whoops, wait a minute. I thought this was for me, but I've been reflecting about it and it isn't good for me." So you're allowed to go back on your decision. And I think that ties up to learning how to speak up. And for me, ambition is all intertwined. Ambition is also like energy. It's also having a positive outlook on things. I don't know about you, but I don't play darts. But that bullseye is, how do you aim for something that you want? And ambition for me is tied in that. And I think we forget to do our little personal plans and do those resets at different stages in life. I mean, when I was young, I had dreams and I had ideas. When I became a wife and got married, I had other dreams, and then it was family, and then it was always through, that was always connected to my career. That never went away. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it was like this,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it was just, but it was a lot
That
of, I think, spunk and energy behind that. And I see that in all of you. I see you smiling and resonating with that.
Yeah. And that's a great segue to the next question I want to bring up. And the next question I want to bring up is now I appreciate we were all only 5 back in the 90s, but I want to talk about the 90s for a moment. In the 90s, and I know personally this was something that I struggled with for a long time. Um, we There was a certain generation of women who were conditioned to quote unquote have it all.
Yeah.
And having it all meant being really great at your job and trying to move forward in your job, thinking about, a spouse or a partner, whoever that was, thinking about children. That question always came up. And then, just also then being this great person in the community who's doing the volunteer work, doing everything. We got conditioned to have it all. I know personally, and I can share a very personal story about my journey in the 90s, which was a very painful one, quite honestly. I was very ill throughout most of the 90s, with a really difficult condition. I'd had to have a couple of operations. I had 3 small children. I was part of a tech firm that was raising money and trying to grow during the dot bomb meltdown. And all of this stuff just came crashing down around me. And, I sort of sat back and thought about that time in my life and realized I was trying to be great at everything. And I was really trying to, in the workforce in particular, emulate men. And it used to annoy me because I used to think to myself, the workforce has to change to accommodate us. We can't just always be trying to emulate. It needs to be, and I'm happy to say, having watched the last few years of things that I see differently, and companies coming right out and putting their paternity leave on a website to say, this is how we treat employees who want to take time off to have children or need to take time off to look after a unwell spouse or partner, or all of these different things. I'm just so happy to see that we're starting to make some change. When we think about ambition, though, and I think I know where you're going to go with this. When we think about ambition, is it only in relation to our careers and our professional careers? Is what does ambition mean across your life? How does that look? Christina, let me start with you on that question.
Oh boy. Okay. So to me, there's no line in the sand that distinguishes being ambitious about your professional journey and ambitious about your personal journey. I think that if you are an ambitious person, you are going to want to succeed and aim high in every area of your life. Where I think it's important is to think about what areas are important to you at what time and to make some decisions about where you're going to be successful. Because, like you said, Marie, we did try and do it all back in that day. And we were emulating men because that's who we saw, that's who we worked with. And those were our role models at the top. I really think there's something to be said for the see it to be it opportunities that young girls have today. But to answer your question, I think that there is no line in the sand. And I've been just as ambitious outside of my professional life as I am with my personal life, whether that be with sports, extracurricular activities, my social life, with my kids, etc. So I think that it's a common thread. I really think that it's an inherent trait. And I think that you will find it everywhere. It's almost like a character strength that is like a being, and it's part of me in every aspect.
All right. I love it. Michelle, what about you?
Oh yeah, totally. And I love that seasons because I think it's rare that I'm the last one to talk about sports on a call. I've played varsity sports all the way. I've played competitive sports all the way up through university. I was on 2 varsity sports teams here and in Australia. I've done a couple of half Ironman races. Like I have been an athlete my entire life, and it's not over yet. So that's one phase. And then trying to have children later in my life. I didn't have my first till I was almost 39 and my second right before I was 43. And having that little one, fertility was a big challenge for me, and miscarriages and child loss. And that was a very big goal in my life, and really a focus for several years on having these children. And so that was a goal. And yeah, so I think ambition, it does ebb and flow, and where you want and the goals you set for a different period in time. And I really believe you can have it all. I'm just not sure you can have it all at the same time, or that was not my focus, right? I basically parked my career for about 6 years while I was trying to have these babies. And then when I was done my second mat leave, I moved to a different job. And so it's choices. I think that's what it is. Choices around ambition and your focus.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Melissa, how do you feel about that topic?
Yeah, I think when you think about before what the context of ambition, you kind of thought of it in this corporate setting. And I think what we're seeing today, I don't think of it like that at all. I think of it the same as everyone else here in all areas of your life, and it ebbs and it flows. But if I think about it in the corporate setting, we have followed our role models, which have primarily been men, and we are now coming, and I hope we continue to push through this revolution, if you will, that we're not going to do this anymore. We're not having that style of ambition. We're going to do it our way. And we've seen it with some incredible leaders who come out strong with, leading with empathy, or just doing it a different way. And I also think it's twofold for not only corporate, but then we're seeing this incredible revolution with female entrepreneurs. It seems like everyone I know is doing a side hustle, going after the things that they love, having fun doing it. Tech has made it very accessible for us to get on board. And my little PSA is for women to also learn about Web3 and what's coming, because we don't want to be left behind when men will take the lead on all this new technology that's coming out. So we need to get in these rooms and at these tables. But I think it's just not even corporate anymore. Like ambition in the workforce is is all different kinds of roles and jobs, and women are showing up as their full, authentic selves, bringing their whole self to
Now, I
where
want to
they
let
are.
people know, and we've got a few comments coming in. Anybody listening, please do send in your questions. Our producers are standing by to take your questions. And I was going to do questions at the end, but a question came up, and Marie Christine, I think you're the perfect person to answer this question. When your ambition gets low, how do you reinvigorate it?
Good question. Well, I think we're all like wine bottles, ladies. We get better with age, okay? And I like wine.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. But I think we get better with every challenge. And we get better if we step up. Um, I believe very much in that. We got to step up. You know, I hear how it's beautiful how women are resilient and they know how to pull up their sleeves and we all have two jobs if we have families and children. But I think there's a way of raising. You know, this show is Elevate. I have one too, Mary. It's Elevate with Grit, and it's so important to step up. That's how you get better. It's like sports. It's like anything in life. It's like practice. You know, I wish the word rehearsal was with a her, because it's when you practice that you get better. And it's with experience, and it's also about taking a step back sometimes and reflecting on what went well and what did not, you know, and ask.
Yeah.
I'm all about speaking up. You know, women, I find, have a tendency of saying, and I saw my mom do this with my dad, you know, well, you should have known that that's what I wanted, or this is the raise that I wanted, or this is the job that I wanted. And in life and in the corporate world, I find women don't speak up enough. They don't say what's in their heart, what's in their mind, and what they wish for. So I think a good way of is with practice. And you know what? Confidence comes with practice. You kind of settle
Yeah.
in, and it's great experiences, and you also get feedback. So ask if you want a raise, if you want a certain position, if you don't want to do a project for certain reasons, give a clear and short explanation why. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes women have a tendency of talking too long.
And I think I think that's a great question, and I've often been in that place myself personally. I've had in the last few years a lot of personal challenges with a sick spouse, and realizing I was going to have to take a step back in my career to look after him, and dealing with that. And but the thing is, we've talked about this idea of seasons, which I think is fantastic. Whatever season you're in with your ambition, whether you have the foot on your foot on the gas, or maybe you've put the car in park, that's okay. It's all okay to recognize that. And for me personally, when I reached out to my community of people and said, I'm hurting, this is a tough time for me, I can't show up the way I want to, I was pleasantly surprised, which I would never have done before because I wasn't conditioned to do that. I was pleasantly surprised in the response I got from people in my life, people that I knew well, people that I only knew, very briefly, who just rallied and said, yeah, let me, don't beat yourself up about that. Let us help you with that. Let us do this. And I think the first thing about feeling your ambition is low is don't beat yourself up about it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about, to your point, Marie Christine, what do you want? And then practice. You got to go out and practice
Yeah.
it a little bit. And you have to say it out loud so the universe hears you and knows that's what you want. And the next thing you know, I've found this in my life, and I'm interested to hear what the other panelists think. The next thing you know, when you say it out loud, somebody says, oh, I know somebody who was doing this, and I'd be happy to connect you if you want to go talk to them about this. And the next thing you know, you're having a dialogue and you feel that ambition meter starting to go back up, because you're engaging with people and you're starting to feel good. Christina, I see you nodding on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, so this one resonates a lot with me because I do work quite a bit with women who go through these ebbs and flows of times of ambition. And at the beginning, we talked about ambition being related to energy. And, energy being another word, if you will, for ambition. So, one of the tools that I've used if I'm in a time where, my ambition is low and I want to get out. First of all, I think you're right. You can be in a low period of ambition, and learning to be okay with that, I think, is really hard when you're ambitious. It like
Right.
goes against the grain.
Right.
But if you do want to get out, there's a tool I've used. It's very simple. You get a piece of paper, you write a line down the middle, and you basically do an energy audit. And you say, what are the things in life that are draining me right now on the left? And what are the things in life that are filling my cup right now or energizing me? And what you want to do, reduce the left column and increase the right column. And if you take away things that are draining your energy and increase the things that are giving you and fueling you with more energy, I think you'll find that you can get out of that slump a little more intentionally.
That's a great suggestion. I love that. Michelle, what do you think?
Yeah, and I think it's realizing when your ambition is overzealous for a period in your life too, because I think this ambition can get to the point where it shows up that you're in your boss's door every 2 months asking for things, right? And I think there is, how can you grow outwardly in your career if you don't have at the opportunity to grow up? And I think that it's trying to understand yourself, what your limitations are, and also what you need to do to be able to go for the next level, go for the promotion, ask for more money. So I think it's also having your ambition in check to know that you cannot go everywhere at the same time, because the scariest place to be is at a level, especially in your career, that is above where your capabilities are. And I think there's massive risk in that too.
Melissa, you were about to say something. What do you think,
Yeah,
Melissa?
I'm so eager to share this revelation I had the the other day, because it's right on the mark with this conversation we're having. And it came to me. I'm a beach person. I love going to the beach when I am having a tough day. I luckily live near the beach, so I'll head down to the beach. And I've always wondered, what, like growing up in the middle of Ontario, what's my affection for the beach. And it hit me the other day. I was on a call with a bunch of incredible women, and I think women are like waves in the beach. We have to retreat, we have to take care, we have to do all these checks that we're talking about. What are the things that are filling me up, what's not filling me up, for us to come crashing back into life. And if we can find the flow of that, just like an ocean, like the waves, then we will probably live a much better life than this work really hard, grind, hustle culture, and then burnout for 2 years, 3 years. And then we take a year off, 2 years off, and then we do the same thing again. So if we can find more of that ebb and flow, just like a wave, just like the ocean, I think that's a good place to start to let your ambition flow.
I love that. I love that analogy. I'm also a beach person, so I'm gonna use that. I also love being somewhere where there's a tide, because I love to watch the tide go out. I like to watch the tide come back in, and I think that's a beautiful analogy. Now, for those people who are joining us today and didn't hear the preamble about why I was so adamant about doing this, we've now done over 100 podcasts for Women Talk Tech. And on almost every single podcast, somebody has brought up the idea that men will apply for jobs if they only have 60% of the qualifications, and women need to have 100%. I've talked to people in HR in the tech sector about how they're trying to change hiring practices to get more women to apply. And I know that this is a tough conversation because it's sort of ambition. Christina, you coined a beautiful phrase when we were chatting in the pre-session to this: ambition versus ability and confidence versus competence. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, all of you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do we tell women to stop waiting for it to be perfect and just seize the moment, because we need you here in tech. We need you here sitting at the table. As Melissa said, we're about to probably go through a monumental revolution in the world right now with the next wave of tech. We need everyone at the table, not just a few people deciding what it's going to look like and what it's going to be. So how do we say, like, don't keep crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Get busy, get out there, go for it. Marie-Christine, what do you think?
Well, I think sometimes a lot of people talk and they don't move. So, there's, I won't name her name, but a minister many years ago said to me something that struck me and I couldn't believe it. She was saying that there was a lot of women being offered different positions because we were looking for gender equality and we were looking to have that diversity of backgrounds and ways of thinking and whatnot. And she was surprised, and this was a woman of power. She was surprised to the extent how many women were turning her down. They were turning her down because, well, they didn't feel ready. They didn't think that they had the experience. Well, they were trying to massage the schedules of being a mom and their career and whatnot. And how do you learn if you don't try? How do you learn what you really love and what drives your passions? And I love the whole wave image. I can see it, Melissa, in my head. And Christina, when you talked about that, doing that audit, that's key. But when you're in your career, I always think of it's my 5 F's, okay? It's family, it's finances, it's friends, it's fitness and fun. Family, finance, friends, fitness, and fun. You can't do them all at 100%. So when you think of doing something that really speaks to you in a job, which ones are the priorities? Which ones can take a little bit of the back seat? And sometimes they come back in the forefront. I work in the agility space. In every project that I do with a client, and I apply it to myself and my personal life, is you inspect, you adapt, you go get feedback. So you got to inspect your life and look at what your agenda is, what your priorities are, what do you really want, what speaks to you. And then go get feedback. Ask sometimes, what others think. And the other thing I'm just going to add, trust your instinct. I find that we regret when we don't trust our instinct. We should always trust our instinct.
I think that's awesome. Michelle, what do you think?
I think I need more analogies, is what I think.
I got you.
Slack on the analogies. I think you are spot on in terms of women not applying for roles. I think that it is our duty as leaders to go and find these women and pull them into our organization. And that's what happened with me moving into technology in about 2014. And I also, if you do not want to apply for jobs as they are stated, create your own role. And for me, 4 out of my last 5 jobs did not exist before I crafted them, sculpted them, sold them, and subsequently got to do them, including the role I'm in now. So I think, I don't know if that's ambition or fear, but
it's creativity,
it's
Creativity,
ambition is innovation.
and innovation.
You don't have to do the same thing.
You don't have to do the same thing all the time. You can reinvent.
And
Absolutely.
I think you're absolutely right. And we have a comment here from one of our audience members, Caitlin. Thank you so much. Her comment is, apply anyways. This does make it harder on talent acquisition. Sorry, TA, but no interview is a bad interview. And I think, we are a little nervous sometimes about applying, thinking that there's a little bit of inertia and that, oh, well, I don't want to get rejected. I don't want to get told I'm not good at this. Christina, what do you think?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was really thinking about this because, again, I come up against this all the time with women and their hesitation to raise their hand. And I think it really stems from our upbringing. So I think as girls and as children in general, regardless of our gender, is we're taught to be rule followers. And I think the girls, and you see this in schools, you see this on sports teams, they follow the rules A to Z. They are on the rules. They are amazing students. They get their homework in. Whereas you see boys, not so much. And I feel like I can talk about this with a little bit more of authority because I have a boy and a girl. So I see the differences. I know it's a generalization. Not everybody's like this, but we are taught to follow rules at a young age. So then when women become professionals and we're looking at jobs, I think that we tend to overestimate the qualifications and certifications that are needed and that are included in the job descriptions. And we underestimate the networking and the advocacy where we should be spending more time because, as you know, that's where a lot of the decisions are made and resources are allocated. So I think that we need to, yes, notice and understand what the qualifications are, but not let them be a showstopper and not let those become a rule that we're following.
You don't have to have
I think,
90% of everything checked to apply for a job.
yeah,
There's attitude that's really important in all this. It's not
yeah.
necessarily everything that's on paper, the person's attitude, her willingness to be able to try and show up and do the job.
I remember not too many years ago when I was working at one of the big banks, and I remember asking a manager, the person I reported to, for some advice or some feedback about myself as an employee about getting to the next level. And I was always so shocked by this advice. But the advice that I was given is you've got to stop working so hard to get the job done and spend more time telling people about the job you're doing. And I went, what? Isn't my job to get the job done? I said, no, you have to start talking more about the fact you're getting it done so that people hear you. They understand what you're doing. You're so busy with your head down, getting the work done. Nobody knows you're getting the work done. And if you want to expand and, bring people into the conversation about the next step in your career, as an example, and I think I would say that if you asked my children, I think my children would say the same thing, that I was so busy being a mom, I wasn't having any fun, and that was a bit of an awakening for me. Is like I got to start having fun at this. It can't all be about being the drill sergeant. Melissa, what do you think? You're laughing. What do you think?
Well, I'm the same. I have two girls that are 5 and 8, and I don't want them to be rule followers. But I hear myself, I say something and then I get angry. Why aren't you listening to me? And they're, asserting their independence, and I really want to encourage that. So it's a struggle for sure. And I do think that this conversation also has many nuances to it, because I think it's on the individual level. All the women out there that are listening, I'm trying to convert all my friends to work in tech. Like, what skill set do you have? It's needed. Come. It's a great place to work. And then the other side is as corporations, I think, and companies also making these, showing job applicants that it is a place to come and work, and you can apply. And right. You see this now a lot in job descriptions or applications that will say all different people apply or something like that. So I think that's really important. And then I think, women, we got to get together, and we got to, like, I call it the Jamie Lee Curtis year, but it's, this cheer, lift each other up, encourage each other. There is so many chairs at the table and in life and wherever whether it's in corporate or in your own entrepreneur or your own life. Let's start cheering each other on a lot more and celebrating each other. And we have to do it, and do it proudly and boldly, and scream from the rooftops for our friends and our colleagues and women that are just out there crushing it. And the more we do that, the more we'll get even this younger generation to see that the working world that's out there right now, that we all really support each other, and it's a great place to be.
Can I just add something to Melissa, what she said, because I love what she just said. And it's like Caitlin had said, there's no interview that is a bad interview in life. But something that we tend to forget to do as women is build relationships, really, really strong relationships, and elevate each other. You know, I saw an article the other day, Melissa, the mean ladies, it's time to go, you know? And it's time to
Yeah.
have women that are good women. I'm not kidding, ladies. I've had more men open doors for me in my life than women. And I've
Yeah.
always found that so sad. And I've, taken on that responsibility of, let's elevate together. It's like raising children. You raise women, you don't bring them down. And
Yeah.
creating those relationships are really, really key. And the tech world, I think there's a lot of culture that has advanced more quickly, often sometimes, when you look at how we all work and collaborate together. So that's anyways, that's
I
something
think
very
that's a
important
great
at some
point.
time.
Now we have a question that's come up from our audience. And so I was going to ask this question last, but I think we're going to jump to it now. Um, and that's, what advice do you have for young people starting their careers with respect to ambition? What advice would you give young women today, and to say how to? I know everybody's given some interesting answers, and I think I know what your answers are going to be, but let's recap on it. If you were talking to a young woman today, about goals and ambition, and what they're thinking about in terms of their path forward, what would you tell them? Melissa, let's start with you.
I've thought a lot about this question. What would I go back and tell even my younger self is to do the inner work. I think, just like I said in the beginning, that Rupi Kaur poem, become the woman that you are inherently meant to be and not who the world tells you should be. And we gather so much stuff as we grow and get older and have different roles and in the working world, but inherently, like, do your inner child work, drink the green juice, take care of yourself, go to therapy, talk it out, walk it out, and just continue to stay true to you. And if you go, I can't remember the exact saying, but I've heard people say this, like, if you're at a company and there's bad things going on, just leave. Don't even, I did that. I stayed in roles that I shouldn't have stayed in for too long, just trying to prove myself and follow that male role model. So really just listen to yourself, be the wave, go back into yourself and reflect. Because I think that inner work is just what makes you, and you'll come out stronger and you'll be able to navigate this world a lot easier.
Like, that's great advice. I love it. Christina, how about you? What would you say?
Oh, I have so many thoughts here. So, the main thought that I would share is that nobody is in the driver's seat of your life and your journey except for you. So don't take a back seat and expect somebody else to understand what you want, and to know what that is and to help you get there. You need to understand what you want. And I think a lot of the time we don't even spend time to think about what is that we want. No matter at what stage in your career and your life that you are, but you need to spend some time thinking about what you want. And then I would just say, and go get it, make it happen, because nobody else is going to make it happen for you. And I see this happen all the time with women, is they do take a back seat with regards to their career. They expect their leader to promote them or to know that they want a promotion. And so they wait for it. And what happens? Somebody else raises their hand in another conversation and gets the promotion. So know what you want, communicate what you want to other people, build that tribe of people that can help you go get it, and don't let anything stop you.
I think that's great. Okay, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of a different spin on this, because I think if you don't know what you want, that's okay too. And somebody, I've had, I don't know, 4 or 5 different chunks of career in my life. And I have never been somebody that's plotted 5 years out, I want to do this, or 3 years out. And I think it's okay. The only thing I would say with that is don't limit yourself. When I went into management consulting, a long, long time ago, I said, I don't want to work in aviation and I don't want to work in retail, in the retail practice, because they were very quant heavy. And I got dragged into the aviation practice, and those were the people that, promoted me and taught me things. And so I think stretch yourself, try different things, especially early in your career, and don't be watching other people's social media too, right? Like it's everybody else does not have it figured out, and they are not all crushing it. And so
Despite
don't
what the images say.
Despite what the images might say. And so yeah, just do you, but try different things and fail and figure out what works, and then pick up your bootstraps and try it again. So yeah.
I love that. And I think that's great. And I'm not going to feel so bad. I signed up for a course this past fall in landscape architecture, and I failed the course. And so now I'm not going to feel so bad about it. I was trying. Drafting isn't for me.
There's no such thing as failing. It's learning.
Did you guys
And
know that
Until your plants die, and then
80% of success for women is driven by psychology? 80%.
yes,
So there's one thing that I
yes.
don't want us to miss is the mindset that is necessary
Yes.
to move forward. And always, I always do this. What is holding me back? That's one question that I ask myself. And I don't just ask myself, I ask my colleagues, I ask my clients, what is holding us back? So 80% is mindset.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a great way to put it. We're just about at the top of the hour. We're just about to wrap up. If anybody has any questions, any more questions that they'd like, and then we're going to close out with this last comment or this last question. And we've all come through turbulent times. The past 3-4 years have been a change in for a lot of people. Some people say it hasn't been great for women, what we had to live through and the pressure. Other people say it's been very good as we've embraced the work from home movement, and we've probably been home figuring out a little bit more what we want. So as we move forward, and I'd like you to just take a couple minutes, each of you, what's the one thing you learned over the last couple of years that you're moving forward into the next era of doing differently? What are you going to do differently now that we've come through the last 3 or 4 years where the world has changed quite a bit, and we've lived through something that we'll probably never live through again in our lifetime? What are you doing differently moving forward? And has the last couple of years changed your ideas about ambition at all? And if I could start with you, Marie Christine, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, the last couple of years have been one of change and one of experimentation and testing. I believe that as much in life as in work. I like doing tests. Let's see, and let's go get that feedback and see how we want to move. For me, one of the big things that I've discovered, when you look at a stick, there's two ends to a stick. There's one that goes down and one that goes up. And I try to go up. And I try to have vision. And I try to step back and just say, okay, what speaks to me? What do I feel internally that feels good? We all have a vibration. And I often talk about dreaming, but I think it's important and key to have vision for ourselves in the future. Where do I see myself? What passions me? What lights me up? Usually, if you have that energy, nothing holds you back.
Yeah, I agree. Melissa, what do you think? What are you doing differently going into the future here?
Mhm.
And I can't wait.
You can't wait. I'm scared when she says it like that.
And Christina, what about you? What are you
Yeah,
blazing forward?
I think that, the last couple of years, I spent a lot of time kind of, I think, thinking through what values are really important to me. And I think the pandemic really highlighted what's important. And so for me, I think it's that I'm going to pivot faster when I sense I'm in misalignment with those values. So pivot faster to drive the change when something is off. Don't wait.
Love it.
So that's really,
Love
yeah,
that.
the
Love
takeaway.
that. Michelle, what about you?
I learned what it's like to work for an organization that really cares about their people and where I'm really happy. And I'm never going to not be happy at work again. I also have learned that one size does not fit all in the return to office and this environment, and trying to be more of an empathetic leader. And I'm going to make it to the hockey games and the baseball games. And I'm going to be unapologetic about leaving work in the afternoon to go and see my children play their sports, and to go on the field trips and to do the things that are really important, and then catch up on work, in the evening or whatever. But I'm going to be an unapologetic leader, and support my kids.
And that's what people need to see, Michelle. So don't stop doing that. I love that. Ladies, thank you so very much. I can't thank you enough for what you've shared. We've had comments coming in. People have loved the discussion. I encourage you, if you're listening, to please connect with these 4 amazing people. And I really, really, really want everyone to take the ambition survey, share it in your network, please. Encourage every person you know to take the survey. We really are looking forward to those results. Those results will create a bigger conversation on this topic going forward, one that we can all share, one that we can lift everybody up, and hopefully bring along a younger generation of women who might have been set off course a little bit given the last couple of years. I know it's been hard if you were in school. It was a weird time. And I don't want anybody to lose the momentum that we've created. And I really want people to, as Melissa said, let's make the party even bigger. My parents are away and we're going to have a party at the house. Let's make it even bigger and get everybody there that we can. So thank you so much to all of you. Happy Women's Day to everyone now and for the next 365 days of the year. And please reach out on LinkedIn. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Woo!